Many of them are published also in top journals, and this is just an example of such a paper if you want to have a look at how do they look like in general. Such papers is not something that we are aiming to create in bachelor project yet, because again, it's a pretty specific goal. Literature review is the whole research project. Maybe very useful for you if you find something on your topic, but again, this is not something we are going to be talking about today. Then there is, let's say, a specific type of also systematic literature review that's called meta-analysis. But this is a type of review that only considers previous quantitative studies. Yeah, if in systematic review, all types of research will go for analysis. Here, only quant studies, so let's say theory testing studies predominantly, will be considered. And this analysis is kind of them trying to make analysis and come to certain conclusions, again, quantitative, based on all such papers. Again, an example of paper is presented here. It is, again, maybe quite useful for you in your literature search, but it's a pretty specific, again, quant type of literature reviews. And finally, what we call a narrative literature review is essentially part of every research project. Yeah, that's a section that can be called literature review or theoretical background in different papers. And the objective here is really to inform your own research, yeah, and show the gaps of the existing knowledge so you can justify why you need to do certain study. Yeah, so that's basically what the narrative literature review is about. And as I said, the first two types is not something we're going to focus today. You need to know what are these and why they exist, and again, because you may be able to find something relevant for your own topic to read, and that's pretty good then. But we are going today focus on narrative literature review. We will not always call it narrative, we'll just call it literature review, but by default you know that this is what we are focusing on. So why do you need a literature review in your bachelor project, or any research paper needs one? So first of all, you need to review and understand literature relevant for your topic to refine your research ideas. Yeah, if you don't yet have your research question, and I know that, for example, in track 2, that deals with finance and accounting topics, the themes are defined at pretty high level. Yeah, so you really need to read to refine your research ideas, to define your research question. Then once your research question is there, you need to gain insights in your topic, and we'll talk in just a minute what it means. But basically, what you do while you're gaining insights, you need to demonstrate in which aspects your own research is novel, yeah, how it adds to the existing knowledge. And of course, you also don't want to repeat what already was done before. So that's really the key of this, let's say, a step or phase in doing literature review. And finally, and this is relevant, let's say, for the later phase of research where you're analyzing your own findings, you need to create a dialogue with existing research. You need really to show how what you found, how what you discovered relates to the previous knowledge, yeah, where it adds to it, where it contradicts it, maybe where is there something new and curious that you found. I think in your literature review assignment, the main focus really is on the second bullet point. Again, you need to try to refine your research ideas before you get to it. And this dialogue creation will be relevant later for, I think, the last assignment. So focus for your assignment 1 is really on the second bullet point, yeah? And what we really want to stress, and we'll keep using this word critical through the whole lecture, is that literature review is always not just a summary of what's there, but it's your interpretation, it's your critical evaluation of the existing knowledge that you've been able to identify, yeah? So you really need to move beyond just summarizing the sources that you found. And we'll keep repeating and explaining what it means today. So insights, yeah, what does it mean to get insights into your topic and research questions? So when you read, you need to focus on understanding several aspects. So how long has the topic has been studied? Yes, so how new is the area in which I'm trying to add knowledge? And of course, the more mature is the topic, the harder it becomes to add something new. Yeah, it's much easier to claim novelty in the topics that are relatively new. You need to see which theories guide the research, yeah, and you will probably find that in most topics there are some predominant theories that are kind of, initially were there to support and develop the topic. And then some new ones, of course, can come as the topic evolves. Which disciplines are involved? What you will notice in the management research, we borrow a lot from other areas. Yeah, so we borrow a lot of theories, we borrow a lot of knowledge. So from, for example, if you think about the papers that we asked you to read for today, one of them from Saderis and van der Valk, they draw on theories from psychology. And that's, again, very common because in the management knowledge, we use a lot of other disciplines. You also want to understand which questions have been studied so far. Again, where is still the area that is gray and not known? Yeah, so where can you focus your own research to add value? And at which stage is the research? Yeah, are we still exploring the topic, or is there already main theory built around it? Have we already seen some theory testing studies? Yeah, so it helps you really to understand the maturity of the topic. It relates back a bit to, I think, how long has the topic studied, because the longer it is there, the more advanced phase you would expect it to be. But not always, yeah, because some really new avenues or connections or subtopics can open, and then it can be going back to, let's say, exploration, theory building, etc. Which methods you see being used? Because for some topics that are maybe difficult to explore with empirical studies, you would see simulations, and maybe sometimes topics that are related to behaviors, they would relate more to let's say the experiments, and some topics, again, they will do things differently. Yeah, so maybe there are some trends, or maybe there is, again, variety of methods out there if the topic is very mature. Yeah, so what are the main definitions, how they are personalized, how they become measurable? And of course, what is important also for you to see when you read literature is what authors suggest in terms of doing next. Yeah, because this can really get you an ideas for your own research. Yeah, so all this relates to what does it mean to get inside at your topic. And you cannot do this by reading just one paper. You really need to read a bunch of sources on the topic and the theme that you are working on to get good answers on all these questions. Yeah, and again, this is just, let's say, a suggested list, but this is really helping you to understand where are you positioning your research in and where you are moving from, which is the starting point of your research, let's say, in terms of literature that is out there. Anything in the chat, Eric, or everything is under control?
There's nothing yet in the chat, so okay. Everything under control.
Okay. Right. Then moving forward, 1 second, because I went to annotations and I need to move back. Oops, sorry. What did I do? Sorry, I did something. Eric, can you share the slide for a second?
Yes, let me see.
Because I did something. I think we'll try.
I think if you go to options on the top, you can close the annotation window.
Yeah, that should help. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Then we are moving next. So when you are exploring the literature that you are thinking of maybe working with, including with, there are two ways to start thinking about organizing literature review. And we will come back to this again. Yeah, because this is something that you can start creating at the very early phase of your own research and working on a literature review. And this will help you, let's say, to really organize your thinking in terms of what potentially you need in terms of topics and things to include. So one of the approaches to try to organize your thinking, because to be honest, overall, I think the decision on what needs to go there is quite difficult one, is to create so-called relevance tree. And this is an example of relevance tree on a topic that is about how does power facilitate knowledge integration and supply chains. Yeah, so power meaning, of course, here like who is more powerful in terms of decision making. And the thinking here is that when you, let's say, get through this preliminary phase of reading to understand your topic, you are able to say that, okay, this topic probably relates and splits into several subtopics. I need to know about knowledge management because it's really about knowledge integration. So that relates to knowledge management literature. It definitely is about discussion of power. And it's definitely about the discussion of supply chain. Yeah. So this helps you to organize how you need to think about searching for literature going further. And if you again read more and understand how the topics, relevant topics around this question develop, you would further be able to develop your trees, again, not from day one, but you can add gradually, let's say, to these trees, the subtopics that you want to investigate. And you may think about, okay, I want to think about knowledge as practice and asset, or knowledge integration, and then what it means for different types of stakeholders, etc., etc. That's, let's say, an iteration, like after iteration, that you can develop your tree, but it really helps you to start thinking in terms of what do I need for my topic in general. Yeah, so relevance tree is one of the ways that you can think of like keeping your thinking in terms of structure of what you need to find for your literature review. Another way, and that's a bit more flexible, I would say, way is mind maps. And maybe you've been already kind of familiar with mind maps, because I think this is also something that's advised, for example, as a tool for organizing your essays, as you've been writing essays. But mind map is a bit more maybe creative and less structured. It's not really a tree with branches. Here we are talking more about creating, let's say, associations and links between different concepts and theories that need to go potentially in your topic. Yeah, and here example that we chose is a student motivation. So if you study student motivation, you want to find what theories relate to motivation, what are the key definitions I want to discuss here, and then what motivation I can think about. I can think intrinsic, extrinsic, yeah, internal, external, in other ways. And of course, for motivation, what matters is goal setting. Again, this is something, these bubbles that you create, you do it over time. So you start from, okay, this is my central topic, and probably, let's say, theories and concepts you can think about from the beginning, and again, refine them as you go. But bubbles in terms of, let's say, subtopics, what you want to discuss, again, they can evolve as you read literature, understand better, and maybe change your logic in terms of what you want to see there. Yeah. So this is a pretty, I think, creative process. And probably if we ask two people to create mind map around one topic, they will never be exactly the same. But that's what research is about. It's, of course, means standing on the shoulders of giants and referring to the previous knowledge, but it's also your own creative ideas and a way of thinking and organizing your project. What we want to do, because we really do think that both of these tools are quite valuable, and maybe mind map is a bit, let's say, easier to show and to grasp. What we would like to do is we would like to actually try and build a little mind map together with you. Yeah, and I see some questions in the chat, but I think it should be okay if there are no questions. So what I would like to do, I would like to suggest that you put maybe a BP theme in the chat, or a topic that you would like to try to build this map, and we will spend 5 minutes doing this together, just to really show you how these things goal setting. Okay, goal setting was kind of part of, I think, the previous one, but let's try the goal setting. It was the first one, yeah. So then what we're going to do, I'm going to stop sharing the Mentimeter because we don't need anymore, and I'm going to go to the mind map. Yeah, do you see my mind map now? Yeah, yeah. It's a bit small. I'll try to make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, because unfortunately I cannot show mind map from within Zoom meeting, because that's the only functionality that does not work with meeting Zoom maps. So we're talking about goal setting. Yeah. So I would assume we will have some key definitions, and we can come to them later. I'm not an expert in goal setting. This relates, I think, more to behavioral topics. So I assume it comes from probably behavioral experts track. So people from there. What theories you may be know already or think about using? Is there something that comes to your mind in terms of putting as a theories? SMART goals, yeah? Is it okay, so let's say we say SMART goals, okay? SMART goals is one of the, let's say, lens that you can look at this. Anything else? Because probably more than one perspective is possible, yeah? Stretch goals, Loki's goal settings here. So I would say Loki's theory and then stretch goals, yeah? So we can stretch goals, yeah? So basically this is something that you can extend as your list or you can decrease as your list depending on what you are going to decide to work with, yeah? And definitions typically will be sort of, I think, related to some theories, yeah? Because certain theories operate with constructs that are not maybe present in other ones, so definitions and theories can be balanced, yeah? What else? So what else in terms of so stretch goals, right? So stretch goals, goal setting. It's kind of, I think we're kind of reversing the motivation topic in my mind here, yeah, because like, yeah, we're showing example of student motivation and now we're showing goal setting. But then I could think about goal monitoring also here, yeah. So something like that. And you can think about, I'm going to write about how do I monitor the goals. And probably we need to also connect goal setting to the performance. Yeah, so this is something that I would think that you would need probably.
I was also thinking about individual goals versus team goals.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, I think this is something that you may focus on. Yeah, again, goals for individuals or goals for and then for organizations, right? Although I think this is a bit high level. For teams, I think it's probably better. For teams, individuals, and this is basically how you can think, yeah. But also what you can really continue doing, and because the mind map does not have, let's say, to have only connections from this, parent middle topic, yeah, that is in the middle. What you can also continue doing is you can say goal monitoring. Maybe I can find, ways to monitor goals. And maybe I would say, I don't know what else goes, like frequency of monitoring goals and things like that. Yeah. So basically the idea is that you really keep thinking of what do I want to include in my topic. And this is something that, again, it's now we are probably making a bit a naive mind map because, again, where you, I'll answer your question now in a second, where we can, just really build maybe a better one if we know more on the topic. But that's the idea. Yeah, you draw, you think about this, and again, it can change really if you want it to change. Yeah. Typically, what I avoid or I would advise to avoid doing is trying to kind of cross-link, between different things, because you write sequentially, so you need to kind of build a logic that will avoid, having too many links between different bubbles, because then it's hard for you to organize your writing, right? You need to really kind of think what sequence is there or what parts need to be there. And what you can do also is that under all the key definitions, you can start creating bullet points of, okay, what I need to include here, what is the goal, etc. Yeah. So have some bullet points. You can have some key sources as you read. Yeah. So basically, you can enrich your mind map that it keeps really kind of being informative for you through literature review. Yeah. So again, very creative process, very flexible. But we do advise to do something to really organize your thinking, because otherwise, I think the whole approach to how I think in terms of literature becomes a bit overwhelming. You need to find something to organize. MindMeister is exactly something that you can use for creating mind maps. Miroboard, yeah, you can also do this, and I think you can probably also have access to it as students, because it does require payment. Yeah, you can have basic Miro. It's very flexible. In Miro, you can use also sticky notes. You can draw, so it's a good tool. I'm using now Zoom. if in your Zoom this functionality is also available, you can do that, because here you can also actually save it and download it. But yeah, I think this is more maybe for demonstration rather than when, like, interactive working over time. If you have access to Miro boards, by far, I think very user-friendly and easy tool to use. Yeah, I know that there is more free software there to use it. Yeah, so and I see some, let's say, advice coming from some of you, which means probably you've been already doing it, which is great. But yeah, once again, it is helpful for your literature review. So please do consider some way to organize your work around your literature search. Yeah. So that's what we wanted to say.
Maybe to make something explicit, Anna, I don't think anyone would expect to see the mind map in the report. You could add it as an appendix if you want to explain to your supervisor how you approached it. It's not something that you would typically see published in the literature review. So it's a tool to help you prepare, to identify all the topics, and then you can use these phrases and these words to do your search.
Yeah, because otherwise it's really, I think, very easy to forget things or overlook things. Yeah, so yeah, and I think the good thing is really that you also see logic at how they connect, because at the end, when you need to start writing, it also helps you to really think about in which sequence you need to write. Yeah, so that you don't really jump over certain topics before explaining them. Yeah, so that's why we do advise to use this. So let's say you have read certain things, you have thought about how I can organize the let's say my review in terms of topics or subtopics and theories that are there. The question, of course, is now where to find all this. Yeah, so and there are two main sources, vast sources of literature, academic and professional, that you can use. And what I want to say is that professional literature, or you can also sometimes call it business literature, managerial literature, is rarely seen in literature reviews and overall in the academic papers. Yeah, so if you read academic journals, this is something that, for a variety of reasons, and I think it rather unfortunately is not really present there. But because your bachelor project is centered around the offered, or maybe you need to develop a managerial problem, reviewing professional literature is important. Yeah, so basically, if you don't include professional literature in your assignment, this is something that is going to basically reduce your overall grading, I think, at the end. Yeah, and you really need to see what's there in terms of professional field that you are working in. So then, let's say the typical terms that we will be dealing with while using academic literature, that it gives you exploration of theory. And theory here is understood not as just, theory that explains how something works, but it's really more about state of the knowledge that is generated by academics around a certain topic. And then you have professional literature, which is called an exploration of practice. Yeah. So here is really about how managers view their own problems and what do they think about their solutions. You will see probably lots of differences in some fields, or maybe quite similarities, but let's say the different phase of exploration and knowledge on certain topics. But yeah, it's really important to understand that there are two distinct big sources and you need to look at both of them. Yeah, so one is not enough. Avoiding professional literature is, again, not recommended for your assignment, and not having academic is absolutely not acceptable. So main types of academic literature. Yeah, let's cover this first, because this probably will still be the core of your literature review. One type that you can use is conference and working papers. Yeah, they are fastest to appear, because they do not typically go through long review process that is needed for an article to get published in academic journal. This is basically the product that academics get out there as, they think they develop new research projects to exchange ideas, to get some feedback and things like that. Quality, again, is not always guaranteed because limited review process is present. And for conferences, for example, as a reviewer, I know that we offer quite limited feedback because these are typically and often quite early stages of the project. They can be short because such papers do not have to be fully finished. Sometimes conference papers just let's say, outline the intentions of what will be done further. So you may not get, let's say, all clarity, all details on the topic, but this is definitely will give you the fastest access to what's new in the field. Yeah, because again, it takes time to publish full papers, but these are quick to appear. So if you want to know where the topic is moving, search for such type of papers. They may not be always easy to access because typically the conference proceedings may be limited to attendance of these conferences. Yeah, they do not become public knowledge unless people choose to publish them on their own sites or elsewhere in the internet. Yeah, so sometimes that's possible. Same goes for working papers. Yeah. Again, difference between them is conference papers are really prepared for presentation at a certain conference. Working papers, it's a paper that's, let's say, an intermediate phase of your research project. Yeah, that it's not yet a full output, but it's something that you are working on towards, let's say, a paper that eventually will be published. Yeah, but again, it can change, it can evolve, it probably will get some comments from your reviewers during the publication process, so it will look differently than in this working phase. Articles in academic journals, again, this is going to be your primary source of literature, except if you have a very novel topic, because I think probably we mentioned last time, but I will mention it again, is that there is certain delay between the time when topic, let's say, comes up and when first published articles appear, because the review process in the journals is quite lengthy, because before a paper gets published, especially if it's a top-level journal, the process of review is quite rigorous, so it goes through several iterations, so it does take time. Again, journals are not all the same, and in your tracks, you probably will hear more about what are the top journals that you need to look at in your field. But quality of publications vary, yeah? And Eric will talk more in terms of general signs of quality and how these two things relate to each other. The problem here maybe is that you have a certain delay between the time when data was collected and when article is published, again, because the publishing time can be lengthy. So you need to be a bit sensitive and careful in terms of, is this still, something that's fully relevant, or it can become outdated, especially on certain topics. Some are, let's say, less sensitive to such things, but some are more prone to let's say, getting outdated. So, for example, if you are in behavioral studies, it's probably safer to assume that, if data on goal setting was created 3 years ago, it's still quite okay. Yeah, but if I'm talking about supply chain response to COVID pandemic, then, data from 2020 is already quite different from how the world looks like now in 2023. So, yeah, it varies. Access to this literature is probably limited for you, because I cannot think of any journals that you will not be able to access through Erasmus. And also, I think open access articles are becoming more and more popular, even if there is a journal that is not available, but again, I doubt that will be the case. Some articles are really published in open access, even within closed journals. Books, academic books in particular, it's sometimes is a compilation of articles from different authors that for different reasons are not published as separate papers. And then they can really include a wide range of sources and thinking. Oxford handbooks are very common example. Again, it's not your textbook, that has, let's say, a storyline that you follow. It's really typically a compilation of publications on a certain topic. They can be very specific or more generic, depending on, where this book is centered around. They can be quite useful for a topic overview, because they will give you author names, different perspectives, different angles of it. Quality, again, may vary. Multiple editions are a good sign, but of course, the thing is that research is moving on, so they have to be updated editions, and also they can be also some very new books that are good, but you haven't seen multiple editions yet because they're new. But good publishing houses like Oxford is also, I think, a certain, let's say, guarantee of quality. You can also sometimes find PhD dissertations published as books in some countries, like in the Netherlands, for example. But books are not always easy to access, because our library has some of them, but not all of them, and not on all topics. And finally, such things as dissertations, PhD dissertations, and theses. Master thesis, I would first advise you to look at. again, quality really varies a lot. And especially, I think, if you're trying to find master thesis, the grade is never displayed, so you do not know what you're looking at. But overall, looking at sources from good schools is a safer choice. Yeah. So I when I was looking into different literature on my topic when I was writing my dissertation, to be honest, sometimes you look at dissertations that come from very small universities and they are very, they basically they don't have enough, let's say, rigor in terms of method and quality filters. So I would not advise to use that. But if it's something that comes from top American schools or top European schools or Asian schools, these are, again, probably safe to look at. They can be a very useful source of references for your topic because they can give you an overview of what's been done on a certain topic. Useful for an overview. They can be quite novel, and I think that goes first of all about master thesis because you can look for those had just been finished in summer. And for Erasmus, there is a thesis repository that you can dive into and look for something relevant on your topic. You can search by school, by faculty, by topic. It's quite flexible. Yeah. So again, will be pretty recent. Something that you can find. And again, what you need to be mindful of that if you look at PhD dissertations, with time, typically dissertation gets published as papers. Yeah, so there is something that you may kind of find as another type of source. Not always easy to access, again, except that in some countries, dissertations are public. And for example, as I said, in Erasmus repository, you have unlimited access. Yes, and if it's useful, I will also just when I publish final slides, I will make a reference to the repository that we have in Erasmus, that you can really dive into master thesis written on various topics. Yeah. This is basically what was there about academic literature. Professional, very different. So first of all, we talk about reports and white papers, company reports, consulting reports, professional association reports. Again, quality may vary. They can be biased because they can take a very specific point of view. And professional literature goes through, let's say, less rigorous process of quality checks. So it's more free to really take a certain position. They can be quite useful if they closely match your topic, again, for really understanding how the management world sees a certain problem and looks for solutions. And they can, of course, be increasingly found online, but not really through Erasmus. There is no structured approach through our library. But if you look at top consulting companies such as McKinsey, such as BCG, such as Accenture, they all publish a lot of white papers and reports in free access. So not detailed client reports, of course, but overviews, industry level, certain topic level. Definitely, you can find quite interesting literature there. Professional journals. Again, they will give you insights into latest problems and developments in practice. They are very specific to your themes and tracks, so I cannot really give you an overview of what's there. I'll give you some examples from supply chain. Quality, again, may vary because some of them, I think, are just compilations of better authors and better quality of knowledge. Again, may be biased for the same reason as reports and white papers. There's a lot of freedom of expressing your opinion without having to be objective. Can be used again to get up to date to a certain topic, and you cannot really find them through the library again, but some of them can be available through internet. Some of them require just, basically subscription, and for free subscription, you can get access to certain issues and publications there. Maybe not all of them, but there is something that's, let's say, accessible without paid access. Newspapers, who reads newspapers now? But if you do, from time to time, maybe it's something that you can also look at into certain topics. Again, highly dependent on what theme you are working with. But newspapers typically are very novel, written for a particular audience. Because every newspaper, I think, targets certain type of audience. Useful for ideas how to develop, focus your topic because of the novelty. Again, take a very specific point of view. So by default, you need to think about what opinion is there. And paper versions probably still available, but we are, of course, all are thinking now about internet access. But again, it varies depending on the policy of how accessible the paper was to be to the general audience. But not through Erasmus again. Social media, blogs on different topics, discussion on different topics. I often look at LinkedIn because it offers to me, I think, quite curious insights in terms of what people discuss there. Can give you some expert opinions if expert is the one who is writing the blog, but not always an expert, so you need to have a bit of judgment in terms of quality. Again, they are likely to be biased meaning that they will represent certain point of view, and expertise level can be different, depending on who is there in the discussion, on who is writing the blog. But popular blogs that, let's say, survive and get many views typically are written by people who know something on the topic, so they're definitely curious to look at. And again, it's of course fully accessible through internet online. There is no need to get any access through Erasmus. And finally, professional books. So I'm not talking necessarily about textbooks. I'm more talking about books written on various topics by consulting companies or by experts. They can be written for, again, specific audience. They can take a particular angle and point of view, so they cannot always give you an overview of the topic in its full. So you need to really kind of, when you take a book, try to understand why is it written for, and who is it written for, because this is something that will really help you to evaluate its value for your own research. Quality varies because many things get published. Again, multiple editions are always a good sign. Reputation of the author, if you know you're reading someone who is expert in the field, that's always a good sign. Some books become classic. I give you here example on change management. So if you want to know about this topic, you have to read Kotter. Multiple editions, classic on this aspect, and I can give you other examples of that. But again, so some become really definitely good sources on certain subject fields or skill areas. They are quite often accessible through the library. Not all of them, and not maybe the latest editions, unfortunately, but you can still find a lot of sources, and I think more and more of them in the ebook format. That makes it much easier. What I want to say is that professional literature tends to appear fast in academic, especially if we talk about academic books and academic dissertations and papers in the journals. So it's a very important source if your topic is new. It's very important to look into this to understand what's recent, what's new, what's happening. Because again, it lags behind much less than academic literature. But there is no quality filters in such literature. So you really have to make a lot of judgment in terms of their focus, their transparency, their point of view. So you must use it, but you must use it wisely and with caution. And that's all I wanted to say before the break. And we're perfectly on time, so I think we can